The bell above the clinic door rang softly. It was barely audible, almost swallowed by the low hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of a printer working somewhere in the back. The waiting room was quiet in that familiar way. Quiet, but heavy. The kind of quiet where everyone was holding something inside. The nurse behind the front desk barely looked up at first. She had been filling out paperwork, her glasses resting low on her nose, fingers moving from habit more than attention. Just a moment, she said automatically, her voice calm, practiced. Then she looked up and paused. Standing there just a few steps inside the door was a child. She couldn't have been more than 8 years old, maybe 7. She wore a thin blue hoodie that was a little too big for her frame, the sleeves pulled down over her hands. Her sneakers were worn, the white rubber edges scuffed gray, the laces unevenly tied. She stood very still, as if she wasn't sure whether she was allowed to be there. The nurse straightened in her chair. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "are you here with someone?" The girl shook her head, slowly, carefully, as if sudden movement might make someone tell her to leave. She took one small step closer to the desk. Her voice, when she spoke, was quiet but clear. "Excuse me," she said. "How much does a miracle cost?" For half a second, the nurse smiled. It was a polite smile. The kind adults give children when they think they've misunderstood a question. "I'm sorry, honey," she replied. "What was that?" The girl tightened her grip on something she was holding, a small glass jar. Inside it were coins. Pennies, nickels, dimes, a few quarters. They clinked softly when she lifted the jar with both hands and set it carefully on the counter as if it were something fragile. "I want to buy one," the girl said. "A miracle." The nurse's smile faded, not dramatically, not all at once, just enough. "Why do you think we sell miracles here?" she asked softly. The girl looked down at the jar, then back up. "Because this is where people come when they're sick," she said. "And when the doctor left our house, he said only a miracle could help now." The words landed quietly, but they landed. The nurse felt something tighten in her chest. "And who needs the miracle?" she asked. "My mom," the girl replied. "Her name is Emily." There was no panic in her voice, no tears. Just a simple statement of fact, like she was explaining the weather. "She's been in bed for a long time," the girl continued. "She sleeps a lot now, and when she wakes up, she tries to smile, but it hurts." The nurse glanced instinctively toward the waiting room. A man with his arm in a sling stared down at his phone. An older woman flipped through a magazine without turning the page. No one else was listening. The nurse leaned forward slightly. "And where is your mom right now?" she asked. "At home," the girl said. "I told her I was going to the library." The nurse's heart skipped. "You came here by yourself?" The girl nodded. "I walked," she said. "It's not that far if you cut through Maple Street and don't stop." "Don't stop?" the nurse repeated. The girl shrugged. "Sometimes people ask questions." The nurse stood up. "Sweetheart, what's your name?" "Lily." "Lily?" the nurse said, her voice careful now. "How old are you?" "8," Lily replied. "I turned 8 in April." "April?" The nurse glanced at the calendar on her desk. Late October. "And how much money do you have there?" she asked, nodding toward the jar. Lily's face brightened just a little, as if this was finally the part she had prepared for. "I counted it 3 times," she said. "It's $42 and some cents. I don't know the cents exactly." She hesitated, then added, "If it's not enough, I can come back. I can get more." The nurse swallowed. "Where did you get this money?" "From my birthday," Lily said. "And chores. And from the couch." The nurse closed her eyes briefly. She had worked in clinics for 12 years. She had heard everything. She had seen people cry, scream, collapse, bargain with God, bargain with doctors. But she had never heard someone ask to buy a miracle, especially not like this. "Lily," she said slowly, "miracles aren't something we can sell." Lily's shoulders dropped. "Oh," she said, "just that. No tears, no argument." "Oh!" She picked up the jar again and hugged it to her chest. "I understand," she said. "Thank you, anyway." She turned toward the door. "Wait," the nurse said quickly. Lily stopped. The nurse came around the desk and knelt so they were eye level. "Who told you miracles could be bought?" she asked. Lily thought for a moment. My uncle, she said. He was talking to my mom in the kitchen. He didn't know I was listening. He said only a miracle could save her now. So I thought maybe I could help. There was no misunderstanding in her eyes. Just logic. Child logic. Pure and devastating. The nurse rested a hand over her mouth. Lily, she said, is there anyone else with your mom right now? My grandma, Lily replied, but she cries a lot when she thinks I'm asleep. The nurse stood. Come with me, she said. Let's sit for a minute. They sat in a small side office, the kind used for paperwork and quiet phone calls. The nurse offered Lily a chair and a cup of water. Lily placed the jar on the desk between them like a contract. Can you help me? Lily asked. Even if you don't sell miracles? The nurse didn't answer right away. She thought about protocols, about liability, about rules. And then she thought about Emily, whoever she was, lying in bed somewhere not far from Maple Street, smiling through pain. Let me make a call, the nurse said. She stepped outside the room, phone pressed to her ear, voice low. Lily waited. She swung her feet gently under the chair, humming something under her breath, a tune without words. Minutes passed. Then the door opened again. This time, the nurse wasn't alone. Behind her stood a man in his late 30s, wearing a simple jacket and jeans. No lab coat, no badge visible, just a quiet presence. This is Dr. Harris, the nurse said. He's going to talk with you. Dr. Harris crouched slightly so he wasn't towering over Lily. Hi, Lily, he said. I heard you're looking for a miracle. Lily nodded. Yes, sir. And who is the miracle for? He asked. My mom. Emily? The nurse added softly. Dr. Harris's expression shifted, just a fraction. How long has she been sick? He asked. Almost a year, Lily said. At first, she could still walk me to school, then she couldn't. Dr. Harris glanced at the nurse. Did she see doctors? He asked Lily. Yes, Lily replied. A lot. Some were nice. Some talked very fast. He smiled gently. And now? They stopped coming, Lily said. They said there wasn't much more to do. Silence filled the room. Dr. Harris leaned back slightly. Lily, he said, what made you think coming here today was the right thing to do? Lily looked at the jar. Because I prayed last night, she said. And when I finished, I felt like I wasn't supposed to stay home. Dr. Harris didn't respond immediately. Neither did the nurse. If you're still listening to this story, pause for just a moment. Think about how many times someone small did something brave without fully understanding why. Sometimes faith doesn't look like certainty. Sometimes it looks like walking into a clinic with a jar of coins and asking the impossible. Dr. Harris stood. Lily, he said, I can't promise you a miracle. Lily nodded. I know, she said, but can you try? The question hung in the air, and in that moment something shifted, not loudly, not visibly, but permanently. Lily didn't remember exactly when she stopped being afraid of the walk. At first, she had been terrified. The house felt too quiet that morning. Her grandmother had fallen asleep in the armchair beside the window, a blanket pulled over her shoulders, tear tracks still faint on her cheeks. The television played softly, some morning show Lily didn't understand. Her mother was asleep again, breathing shallowly, one hand resting on her chest. Lily stood in the doorway for a long moment, holding the glass jar with both hands. She didn't know if she was doing the right thing, but she knew she couldn't do nothing. She wrote a note in careful, uneven letters. I went to the library. I'll be back soon. I love you. She placed it on the kitchen table, weighed down with a spoon so it wouldn't slide away. Then she left. The morning air was cold, sharper than she expected. Autumn had settled into the town quietly, painting the trees along Oak Ridge Avenue in shades of orange and rust. Leaves crunched under her shoes as she walked, each step sounding louder than it should have in the stillness. She kept the jar tucked inside her hoodie, pressed against her stomach. Maple Street came first. She crossed it quickly, just like she'd practiced in her head. Look left, look right, look left again. The traffic was light, mostly people heading to work, coffee cups in hand, minds already somewhere else. No one noticed her. She cut through the small park behind the elementary school, the swings empty, the playground wet with morning dew. She used to come here with her mom before everything changed. Her mom would sit on the bench and pretend she was fine while Lily played. Lily didn't stop. She didn't stop anywhere. She had learned over the past year that stopping made things heavier. If she stopped, she might think too much. She might imagine what would happen if the miracle didn't come. If her mom didn't wake up one morning. If the house became too quiet forever. So she walked. By the time she reached the clinic, her hands were cold, her arms tired from holding the jar so tightly, but she felt steady, as if something invisible was guiding her steps. Back in the small office, Lily swung her feet gently while Dr. Harrison, the nurse, stood near the doorway, speaking in hushed voices. "She shouldn't have come alone," the nurse whispered. "I know," Dr. Harris replied, "but she did. That matters." "What are you thinking?" the nurse asked. Dr. Harris didn't answer right away. He had seen children like Lily before, children who grew older too quickly, who learned the language of hospitals and diagnoses before learning how to ride a bike properly. But something about her was different. She wasn't asking for explanations. She was asking for action. He stepped back into the room. "Lily," he said, pulling up a chair across from her, "tell me more about your mom." Lily brightened, as if she had been waiting for someone to ask that question properly. "She likes yellow," Lily said immediately. "She says it makes the room feel warm even when it's cold." Dr. Harris smiled faintly. "She used to sing when she cooked," Lily continued, "but she doesn't anymore because it makes her tired." "What does she like to eat?" he asked. "Soup," Lily said, "but only the kind with noodles. She says it reminds her of when she was little." The nurse felt her throat tighten. "And when was the last time your mom saw a doctor?" Dr. Harris asked gently. 2 weeks ago," Lily replied. "He said her body was very tired." Dr. Harris nodded slowly. "Did he explain why?" "She has something wrong inside," Lily said, touching her own chest. "Something that doesn't want to get better." Dr. Harris exhaled. "Lily," he said, "I need to be honest with you." She sat up straighter. "I don't work at this clinic full-time," he explained. "I consult here sometimes, but I also work with a group that helps families when things get complicated." Lily frowned slightly. "Is complicated bad?" she asked. "Not always," he said. "Sometimes it just means people need help they don't know how to ask for." She considered this. "Can they help my mom?" Lily asked. Dr. Harris hesitated. "I can't promise anything," he said again, "but I can try to get her seen, properly, without rushing." Lily nodded. "That's okay," she said. "Trying is good." The nurse turned away for a moment, pretending to organize papers. Trying is good. She hadn't heard that in a long time. Dr. Harris stood. "I need to make a few calls," he said. "And Lily, I need to make sure your family knows where you are." Lily's face fell. "Am I in trouble?" she asked quietly. "No," he said quickly. "Not at all. You were brave. But people worry when kids disappear." She nodded, understanding. "Can I stay?" she asked. "Just until you know?" "Yes," he said. "You can stay." While Dr. Harris stepped out again, the nurse sat beside Lily. "You must really love your mom," she said softly. Lily shrugged. "She's my person," she said. "When she sleeps, I tell her stories so she won't feel lonely." The nurse blinked. "What kind of stories?" "Happy ones," Lily replied. "Ones where people get better." The nurse placed a gentle hand over Lily's. Outside the room, Dr. Harris spoke into his phone, pacing slowly. "I have a pediatric oncology case," he said quietly. "Late stage, homebound, no current treatment plan." He listened. "Yes, I know. I know resources are limited." Pause. "A child came in today," he continued, "by herself, with a jar of coins, asking to buy a miracle." Longer pause. "I'm not saying it's simple," he said. "I'm saying it's not over." He ended the call and leaned against the wall. He had no illusions. Miracles didn't arrive wrapped in light. They arrived in paperwork, in second opinions, in people deciding not to give up when the system already had. He returned to the room. "Lily," he said, kneeling again, "I'm going to go see your mom today." Her eyes widened. "Really?" "Yes," he said. "I can't treat her without her permission, but I can look. I can listen." Lily hugged the jar tightly. "Thank you," she said. "I'll give you my miracle money if you want." Dr. Harris smiled sadly. "Keep it," he said. "You may need it for something else." At that moment, the nurse's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, then at Lily. "That's your grandmother," she said gently. "She's very worried." Lily nodded. "I should go home," she said. "Yes," the nurse said. "We'll take you." As they walked toward the door, Lily stopped and looked back at the room. "Did I do the right thing?" she asked. Dr. Harris met her eyes. "Yes," he said. "You did exactly what you were supposed to do." And somewhere between the clinic and Maple Street, between fear and hope, the first true shift had already begun. Not a miracle yet, but the space where one could happen. The house smelled like soup and old wood. It was the kind of smell that lingered when windows stayed closed too long, when routines had quietly disappeared. Dr. Harris noticed it the moment he stepped inside. The living room was modest but clean, the furniture arranged carefully as if order could hold things together when health could not. Emily lay in the bedroom just off the hall. She looked smaller than Dr. Harris expected. Not fragile exactly, but worn, like someone who had been fighting quietly for a very long time. Her hair was pulled back loosely, her face pale, her eyes closed. The rise and fall of her chest was shallow but steady. Lily stood in the doorway, clutching her grandmother's hand. "That's my mom," she said softly. "She's sleeping." Dr. Harris nodded and approached slowly, speaking gently as Emily stirred. "Emily," he said. "My name is Dr. Harris. I work with a medical outreach group. Lily brought me." Emily opened her eyes. For a moment, confusion passed across her face, then understanding. She looked at Lily. "You went out," she whispered. "I knew you did." Lily stepped forward. "I went to buy a miracle," she said simply. Emily closed her eyes again, a tear slipping free. Dr. Harris spent a long time listening. He listened to Emily describe the symptoms that had been dismissed as exhaustion, stress, bad luck. He listened to the grandmother explain the missed appointments, the insurance issues, the months of waiting. He examined test results left in a folder on the bedside table, scans that had never been reviewed by a specialist, notes that suggested possibilities but no follow-up. "This shouldn't have stopped here," he said quietly. Emily looked at him. "What does that mean?" she asked. "It means," he said carefully, "that there are still things we can do. Not promises, not miracles, but steps. Over the next week, things moved slowly, but they moved. Appointments were scheduled. Specialists consulted, tests repeated, not because of luck, but because someone had finally taken responsibility. And Lily stayed close. She sat beside her mother's bed, telling her stories like always. Only now, the stories changed. They were still hopeful, but grounded. "They're checking again," Lily would say. "That's good, right?" "It is," Emily would reply. One afternoon, Dr. Harris returned with news. "It's not what they thought," he said. The diagnosis was incomplete. Emily's heart pounded. "So?" she asked. "So there's a treatment path," he said. "It won't be easy, but it exists." The grandmother wept openly. Lily didn't cry, she just nodded. "I knew," she said, "because I asked." Treatment began. Slowly, carefully, with setbacks and progress measured in inches, not leaps. Emily grew stronger, not overnight, not miraculously, but undeniably. She sat up longer. She ate more. She smiled without forcing it. One evening, as Lily counted coins from her jar on the kitchen table, Emily watched her. "You never used this," Emily said softly. Lily shrugged. "I didn't need to," she said. "The miracle wasn't for sale." Emily reached for her daughter's hand. "No," she said. "It wasn't. If you're listening to this story right now, notice something important. The miracle didn't arrive as a sudden cure. It arrived as someone who listened, as a second look, as a child brave enough to ask the wrong question in the right place." Months later, Lily returned to the clinic. This time she wasn't alone. Emily walked beside her. They brought cookies, homemade, slightly burnt. The nurse recognized Lily instantly. "Well," she said, smiling through tears, "look at you." Lily placed the empty jar on the counter. "I just wanted to say thank you," she said, "for not laughing." The nurse shook her head. "You reminded us why we do this," she replied. As they turned to leave, Lily paused. "Do you still sell miracles?" she asked. The nurse smiled. No, she said, but sometimes they walk in on their own. And maybe that's the truth. Miracles aren't always light from the sky. Sometimes they're courage, small enough to fit in a child's hands. Sometimes they're people choosing not to look away. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment. Not for the algorithm, but because someone reading it may need hope today. Share this video with someone who believes they're out of options. And if you believe in stories of faith, compassion, and quiet miracles, subscribe to this channel. This is Signs of Heaven. And sometimes the miracle comes just in time.